Hey, what's going on, everybody? Justin here at Trumpful Reads, and in this video, we're going to be continuing on with my set of videos sort of on the series and sets and trilogies that I have started but not yet completed, whether I've read just like one or two books in the set. And I've already done the ones I'm most excited for, and also before I forget, I might as well I forgot to include the Riddlemaster book, I believe, or that trilogy, the Riddlemaster of Head trilogy, in that video, but I am very excited to continue on with this one. But in this video, we're going to be talking about sort of the middling books. I'm calling it the middle of the road trilogies and sets that I definitely want to finish, but they might not either make me excited or pumped to like read them, I guess, as compared to some of the other ones. But I definitely do want to finish them, and they're not sort of in that bottom tier where I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do with yet. So let's just get started. One of the first fantasy books I read was Half a King by Joe Abercrombie. I've heard really good things about him, except most of the time it's the first trilogy, and I just went with like one of his like newer books, I guess, not realizing what it was. I really did enjoy it. Looking back on it, it wasn't like my favorite of the year, I guess, so far. But I really did enjoy how it was sort of like a lot of winter survival was in this book. I know the point of view changes to different characters in the latter two books, but I do really like Abercrombie's sort of, he's like, was it fantastic realism or grimdark or whatever. I do enjoy that a lot, so I am going to continue on with the Shattered Seas trilogy, and the next one is either Half a War or Half the World, and I'm definitely going to continue on with that, and then after I finish that trilogy, I'm going to move on to the First Law. I read Assassin's Apprentice by Robin Hobb, and I guess I was expecting to be like super blown away because of all the really good things I've heard about it from tons of other different booktubers and reviewers. I did enjoy the book. It just wasn't really that exciting for me, I guess. I'm not really into assassins, so I don't know if that had something to do with it. But I will say Robin Hobb's writing style is really good. Her prose is excellent. And I do enjoy the fact that it's a first-person point of view. That's really refreshing in a fantasy series. I know she's got tons of books out, and there's 3 or 4 trilogies just in this sort of Elderling realm universe, basically. So I am definitely going to continue on just because her writing style is so good. And like I said, I've heard really good things, and I've even heard most of the like later books just keep picking up and getting really good, especially the second trilogy. So definitely excited for that, and I'm also excited to read her trilogy, The Live Ship Traders, based on more about obviously on like ship life and stuff. Even though it's not quite directly related, it's in the same world, I guess, but not directly related to the Farseer trilogy. But like I said, her later books seem to get even better reviews. In obviously, there's just a bunch of them, so I'm gonna keep reading the. So like I said, I really enjoy her writing style, so I'm going to definitely keep reading some Robin Hobb books. Next up is a Flintlock fantasy series, and it's actually, it might be kind of a surprise, I guess. It's continuing on with the Powder Mage trilogy by Brian McClellan. This is my cool autographed edition too that my wife got me for Valentine's Day. If, I can flip one page for whatever reason, can't seem to figure that out. But I thought the first book in the second trilogy, and like I said, don't ask me why I read that one first, was super awesome. Loved it, 5 stars. The first book in the Powder Mage trilogy, so the first book he put out, I didn't like quite as much. It was definitely more of a 4-ish star read for me. But like I said, it's definitely a trilogy, and it's a genre I really enjoy. I felt the first book in the first trilogy, Promise of Blood of the Powder Mage trilogy, definitely had a lot more flaws. So I guess that's why I'm not just quite as excited to continue on with Crimson Campaign and the Autumn Republic. But like I said, it's definitely a genre I really enjoy. I love Brian McClellan's universe that he's created within the Powder Mage universe. So I'm definitely going to continue the trilogy, and I'm also going to obviously continue the second trilogy. Okay, let's go to The Dying Earth. This one actually wasn't in my first video when I was 0 for 18, because now I'm 0 for 19. This was the one I was reading when I recorded that. And I read the first book, which is just The Dying Earth, which is a bunch of short stories set in this like weird sci-fi fantasy universe. Basically, it's called The Dying Earth because it's so far in the future the sun is basically like a red giant or something. Don't know how like anything survives, but basically magic is sort of like reawakened in the world, but it's kind of like baser. Like for example, like you have like there are like wizards and stuff, but they can only like burn into their memory like a couple spells at a time, and then once they use them, it's like done for. So I thought it was a really cool concept. I did like the short stories actually. I felt it was a little bit disjointed, and some of the short stories were definitely a lot better than some of the others. I think there was like 7 or 8 of them. Some characters just weren't cutting it for me, but some others really I thought were kind of unique. And also a lot of the concepts that were being dealt with were really cool. So I'm definitely going to continue on with the Dying Earth series, and the next one is The Eyes of the Overworld. Alright, now the next two. These are like kind of the big ones that people really enjoy. We're going to start with The Eye of the World, well, the Wheel of Time series by Robert Jordan. I actually didn't mind Eye of the World. I thought, yeah, based on basically its comparison with Stormlight Archive, I thought it was going to be sort of, I don't know, I wasn't going to be quite too sure about it. I did enjoy it. I'm definitely glad I read it. I know everyone says the series kind of like declines. It's more of just arguing like at what point does it start declining, but it was definitely good. This one was definitely good enough for me to continue on to The Great Hunt. It's a really huge, massive world, but it is very imaginative. Some of the characters and the plot and pacing I didn't care for like a ton, but it wasn't bad enough for me to just drop the series right here. Now it's going to be more of a matter of when I get to like 6, 7, and 8, if I keep going from there. But then I'm going to be like, I've already read that many. I'm going to have trouble cutting my losses, I guess. But yeah, for now, I'm definitely going to continue on with Wheel of Time. It definitely has a lot of potential. And like I said, I'm going to go on to The Great Hunt in the near future. And lastly, we're going to go with The Stormlight Archive by Brandon Sanderson. If you guys follow my channel, you'll know this is my biggest disappointment of the year, and I actually rated it pretty bad. I'll leave the link down below. But I will say, everyone tells me Words of Radiance picks up, but I'm not quite sure if it's just picking up on all the stuff I don't like and like making it even more grander stuff that I won't like, if that makes any sense. So, like I said, it's more of like it's a cultural thing at this, or cultural thing, more like a fantasy thing at this point. He is like the premier fantasy author right now, so I almost feel like I'm compelled to like read him. It definitely has potential. It's more just, from what I've heard from other people, like the next 2 books really don't fix the problems. It's more of like the same type of stuff going on. So I'm not. The only reason I'm reading Words of Radiance is I've heard Dalinar is like the main focus of the second book, I believe, and he was like the only character that I actually really cared for and actually enjoyed reading about. So that's why I'm definitely gonna at least try Words of Radiance. If I don't care for Words of Radiance at all, I don't know. Then I might have to like call it quits after that. But I'm definitely willing to give Brandon Sanderson another shot and read Words of Radiance at some point in hopefully the near future. Though it is one of those bigger, I mean they're all like these huge massive books, like 1,060 something pages or something. But I'm definitely gonna at least give it a try. I'm not gonna call it quits quite yet. So there you guys have it. Those are the 6-ish middle of the road series that I definitely want to continue. Hopefully they pick up more since the first book, I guess you could say. The series like kind of ramps up. That way I get more excited for them, if that makes any sense. But yeah, tell me you guys what you think about these trilogies, or if you have series or trilogies that you'd like to recommend me, leave them down in the comments below. I'd be glad to hear them. But yeah, if you've read any of these series or any of these books, definitely if you have any comments or questions or want to talk to me about them, leave those down below as well. I'm glad to talk to you about that. And just whatever you guys are reading, whatever series or trilogies or sets or anything, always remember, read victoriously.